Hi, I'm Chris Cousins. Today we're going to do a bit of a review of the swing of Matteo Manassero, who's been a European Tour player for a number of years now. I think he's still only 19. He's the only teenager to have won 3 times on tour, but it seems like he's been around for forever, really. A bit like Garcia at the same age. But we're going to have a look at his technique and see sort of basically what he does in his swing and how some of the things he does in his swing can help you in your own game. First thing, if we take a look at his setup, pretty textbook, pretty much what you'd expect really from a modern swinger of the golf club. You'll notice from behind, very good posture, very good balance, weight sort of through the middle of his feet. If we look from the front, you'll see the angles. He's got a slight bit of shoulder tilt, a little bit of hip tilt, and his spine is just leaning fractionally away from the target. As he's got a shortish iron, I think he's got about 6 or a 7 iron. He's not going to have much spine tilt with the driver. It's going to tilt a little bit more away from the target. And again, his ball position just ahead of centre for a mid iron, very neutral. His grip's very neutral. Those lines on his thumb and forefinger, can't really see great from here, go pretty much between his chin and his right shoulder, so nothing really out of the ordinary with his setup. One thing he does do is his shoulders in this picture are quite open, so from down the line, if this says the midpoint of his stance, his target line's maybe here, his shoulders are a touch open. So I mean, even the top guys will keep sort of monitoring the setup. I've got a few of the videos of him where his shoulders aren't quite as open as that. So it's something everyone sort of keeps tabs on. May well have been trying to play a cut on this shot. It's a shot taken on the driving range, so don't know for sure. But if we move into the takeaway, what you'll notice is everything works away together. So as he's turning back here, club stays on plane, but his hands, arms and club stay in front of his chest for the entire takeaway. Okay, the arms and body work in what we call together, and that makes it very easy for them to work together through impacting on the downswing. Gets his swing off to a great start here. You'll notice that the gap between his hands and his thighs stays about the same as he moves into the takeaway. So there's no sort of disconnection or pulling inwards of the arms. The arms don't get in front of him, they don't get behind him, they just stay nicely together. Okay, a good check or a good drill, should I say, to work on that is to put a club in your navel and then just move away together here. So you'll notice in this first 18 inches that the butt of the club's always pointing at his navel. If his arms were to work too far inside or separate away, it would stop pointing in that position. Okay, if we look from the front, you'll notice his core here. Everything turns away together. Okay, there's no independent movement of the arms or club. Everything's very much one piece. Okay, as we move to the to halfway back, you'll see him continue that. So everything's together here. Club's on plane, and as he moves up to halfway, pretty much a perfect halfway back position, the hands right opposite the middle of the chest. If we look from the front view here, again, pretty perfect. The arms and body really working together, so they're not working independently, so again, it's very easy for him to sync everything up through impact. As we take him to the top, again, very good position in that he's just continued his pivot from this position here where the hands are in front of the chest. So as he works to the top, they remain in front, and the club's on a lovely sort of plane there. Again, if you move from the halfway back position to the top here, you'll see the same sort of thing. Now, one thing he does very well that a lot of modern players do is he turns into his right side as opposed to over it. And what I mean by that is if we look from the front here, and we mark his right hip and his left hip, as well as his head. Okay, as he moves back, you'll notice that his hips are pretty much contained within those two lines, and his head really doesn't move a lot to the right. So as we take it back now, you'll notice how, if anything, his hips move a little bit closer toward the target here. Okay, they definitely don't slide over this way. So he's moved into his right side there, but he hasn't moved over it. So his right hip really has just gone straight behind him. Okay, and what this does is it gives the swing a lot of depth. So because his right hip has moved a long way behind him, he's got a lot of room in front of his body to swing his arms down in front and to attack the ball from the inside. A lot of players that slide too much to the right on the backswing miss this position, so they find it very difficult to get the club down and on the inside on the downswing. Okay, so from there, his head's not moved, and his left hip is, if anything, a little bit towards the target. His weight here really is all on the inside part of that right leg, so it's all working up. Whoops. His weight's all working up through here. You know, there's no movement this way of the right leg. Okay, players that do that, you know, generally struggle because they have a long way to move left impact to hit it solid. In that position now, all he has to do is unwind, and bang, he's in his left side. You know, he doesn't have to make a big lateral movement because he's already almost over his left pivot point. So if we think about the left hip joint and where the left ankle is, you draw a line down from his left hip here and then turn it back. You'll see it's pretty much in the same place. So he doesn't have a lot of work to do to get into his left side to hit it solid. You know, it's very easy and very repeatable. Very easy for him to hit it the same every time from this position. And it's a position you'll see with a lot of guys. If we bring up Justin Rose, okay, you'll notice a very sort of similar move with the left hip. Okay, because again from here it's very easy for them to move forward, compress the ball, hit down on it, and strike it solidly. So from this position at the top, where he's turned into his right side, his right hip's gone backwards, his hips haven't slid to the right in any way. His first move down is his left knee, almost working toward the target here. So the first move down, you know, with a lot of great players, is in the lower body. So as he starts his downswing here, his left knee will move out toward the target, and what that does, that gives his feet a very definite sort of look. So on the downswing, what will happen is his left knee will move forward, and then his weight will move almost into the outside of his left foot. So you can see his left foot just starting to come off the ground there, and the right foot's followed suit. The right foot's almost working in on the instep, so as opposed to working up in the air and with the heels dancing all over the show. You'll notice his right foot just sort of creasing almost this way before it goes up on its toe. Now that might seem quite subtle, but that's very important because your feet working in that direction help the club come down from the inside, which we'll look at in a minute. So as he starts his downswing with his lower body, the weight moves almost into the outside of that left foot, the right foot's rolling in on the instep, and then it continues after it's moved outside of that left foot to go into the heel. Hips will open up to the target, and he's in the finish here. Okay, so he's got very, very sort of good footwork. His weight moves forward onto the outside of that right foot, in on the instep, and then up. So the action of that right foot, it always wants to work in and then up, as opposed to straight up in the air. And you'll see that with a lot of players. If we take a look at some old footage of Ben Hogan, even, you'll notice that from the top of the backswing, as he starts down, weight moves forward with that left knee, and the right foot works in. Okay, that right heel almost works towards the left before it goes up. You don't see many players going straight up in the air, as it happens on this one. Hogan's actually, his right foot's almost moved toward the target on the downswing. Okay, so you know, moving your feet in that way and starting the downswing with your lower body means that the club will follow a certain path down to the golf ball. If we look at the down the line view, Okay. Alright, what you'll notice now is as he works everything away together, arms are in front of the body, gets to the top, just created a lot of space by turning his right hip behind him. As he starts his left knee down to the target now, what that does is it keeps his shoulders back and allows the club to fall down from the inside. So in this position, he's spot on. You know, the club's on plane, the hands and arms are in front of the body. From this position, all he has to do really is turn through. There's no need to stall the body. There's no need to do anything to let the arms get back in front. His right elbow's on his right hip pocket, and then he just pivots through. Okay, so he's got a very sort of repeatable, predictable downswing. From the top of the backswing here, when he's in great position, that left knee moving toward the target is what allows the club to fall onto this plane here. You know, players that have poor footwork or don't use the hips properly, you know, say the hips spin from the top or do whatever, often that puts the club out of position on the downswing and it makes it very difficult to recover. One of the reasons he does it so straight is from this position where, you know, he's pretty much done all the work. You know, his weight's in his left foot, the club's in front of him, the club's on plane, his right arm's in front of his body. All he's really got to do is pivot through. He's pivoting through with his arms and body together, and he's able to keep the club face because of that very passive. So if we look at the club just post impact, look at the leading edge, just in the frames following hitting the golf ball. You'll notice that leading edge is very sort of passive. There's no active stall and then flip over with the hands and arms to try and square the face, and that is the main reason why he's one of the straightest guys on tour, because his arms and body are so synced up through this position here. He's able to control the release of the club with his body as opposed to having to stall his body and fire his arms through. And as a result, he's very, very consistent. If we compare that to another player, say Ernie for example, who's obviously a great player, but his technique's much more dependent on timing, because as he gets to here, you'll notice that as we play through, his hands and arms work much more away from the body, and the toe shuts down much quicker. So you'll see from here, there's very little body turn, and in this position, the club's already pointing, the leading edge is already pointing halfway down the fairway. Whereas Manassero's is much more in this position. Okay, what that means is Ernie's got a lot more club face rotation through impact, which means that he isn't going to be as accurate, and his technique requires a lot more time. He's still got a very good swing, but from a timing point of view, it's a lot more handsy and a lot more difficult to, you know, be consistent with than, you know, say the technique of Manassero. As it happens, if you've got Ernie Els's hand-eye coordination, that's not a bad thing. But you know, consistently week in, week out, he's not going to hit as many fairways as a guy like Manassero, who, you know, is controlling the release of the club with his body as opposed to his hands and arms. Probably the main thing to take away from you know, from his swing is, you know, especially if you are hitting a lot of fat shots and thin shots with the irons or not getting good contact, is make sure that your hips or your legs are turning within the boundaries of your feet. So if we're looking at the front position here, like we said before, that right hip wants to work behind you on the backswing. It doesn't want to slide excessively to the right of target. That's only going to make it more difficult for you to get into your left side at impact, which is what you need to do to strike the ball properly. So, you know, as a drill, you could practice perhaps putting an umbrella or a chair leg here, and then turning back, making sure that you're not brushing or touching that umbrella. Okay, it makes it much easier from this position to get into your left side to hit it solid. The second thing is on the downswing to make sure that, you know, you start it with the movement in the lower body, especially for players that come over the top and slice it, you know, due to poor footwork. You know, that left knee moving toward the target, followed by the left hip, then the left shoulder, and then the club as the last thing to move. You know, gives you room on room to drop the club down on the inside and to hit it, from the inside, as opposed to when the club works outside, it gets very difficult to make contact and hit the thing straight. So starting the downswing, the movement in the lower body, and having good footwork is another sort of area that he's very good at. And probably the last thing is we haven't really covered is head movement. If we look at his head at the top of the backswing, from address to the top of the backswing, there's not a lot of movement really. It turns a little bit, but doesn't move an awful lot. One big thing that a lot of people are focused on is keeping that head still, i.e. not moving it up or down, left or right during the swing in an effort to hit solid shots. But if you watch most good players at the start of the downswing, as the left knee moves forward, the head will drop quite a bit. Okay, and that's as a result of the weight being pushed into the ground, from which it's then pushed up through impact and into the finish. So all good players will lose height somewhat on the downswing, and then as they move into the finish, they push up, and their head's much higher than it was originally. But players that try and keep the head too still, what they don't allow themselves to do is move the weight forward in the downswing, which you need to do to strike it properly. So trying to keep that head too still, especially on the downswing, will makes it very difficult to hit the thing solid. So I hope you've enjoyed this analysis. Please feel free to leave some comments below. I'm sure it's only a matter of time before, with a swing like this, before he wins a major championship. He's not the longest hitter on the tour, so it'll probably be a course that's tight, perhaps a British Open or somewhere with hard, fast running fairways. But I hope you've enjoyed this analysis, and I hope you can use some of what we've covered to improve your own game.